Hello, this is Chris over at SkyTech Enterprise Solutions. And today we have a video on SQL Server. This is our second video regarding SQL Server, and we will be running a few simple queries just to get you going. Let's get into it. All right. As you can see, I've been running some queries here, and I'm going to go ahead and close them all. I can close it individually. However, I choose to close all documents, just like that. All right, again, in our last video, we took a closer, well, it was a bit of a good look at the interface of this tool, which is called Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. This studio is used to connect into the SQL server that is installed on this laptop, right? So basically, I went to Microsoft.com, downloaded a SQL Server software, and then when it completed installation, I also downloaded and installed this Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. And then I used this software that we're looking at, this Management Studio, to connect to the SQL Server on my laptop. When I did that, I found out that SQL Server had all these folders in here. It's got all these security, databases, security, server objects, replication, polybase, always on high availability, management integration services, catalog, SQL Server agent, and X event profiler. Now, for this video, we're most interested in the databases folder, right? Now, when you click on this X right here, it exposes two folders. The first one is called System Databases. And within that, you find that, there are 4 databases in here. And again, when it comes to icons, this very basic drum here, it's like a cartoon drum. That stands for database, okay? When you click on it to see what's inside that database, you find out that that database has tables, views, and so on. There are other things going on in here. Now, I want to caution you about the system databases. These databases are databases that SQL Server uses to manage itself, okay? So under no circumstance should you come in here and make any change. You shouldn't add a record. You should not delete a record. You should not delete the database, right? If you mess up this few databases here, your whole server might get corrupted. All right. Some days I wonder why it's even displayed here, because if you play with it and you screw it up, you have to rebuild your server. It might not be a big deal on this laptop or at home on your home computer, but imagine doing that, this at your job, you might get into trouble. Anyway, guys, let's move on to the next folder. Says database snapshots. Now, when you're running SQL Server, there's a lot of different ways of backing up the data on the server. So sometimes you want to take a snapshot of the data and say, hey, at 2:45 p.m. on Wednesday, this is a snapshot of the database, right? You take another snapshot, multiple snapshots in a day. So if something were to happen 2 minutes from right this second, at least you can walk back 2 minutes. You can go back 2 minutes and restore a database based on the snapshot, right? So once you start making snapshots of your database, once you set that job in motion, this is where the folder, the snapshot copies of your databases will get stored. All right. For now, I think it's empty because I haven't done that yet. I also imported these AdventureWorks. This is a data warehouse table. Database. Same with this one. And then I created these 2 databases here. right? So we're going to go into this one here at English words. I think this is the most exciting database simply because it has English words that are fun, right? Okay, let's increase that. So here I can actually increase the size of the text that I'm looking at. I know there's a way to increase these guys down here. I just haven't done that in a while. But anyway, we'll figure that out sooner or later. So as you can see, I have 1,000 rows of, is it really 1,000? Yeah, it's 1,000 rows of English words in here. Okay. And if we look, we'll see that it took whatever this number is to complete this query. Okay. Ah, there it is. 200. Yep. So here, well, yeah. Well, I guess you can increase the size of the text, but not the grid. Maybe you can. We'll figure it out. But look. So here we are, right? This is what our data looks like. And it's always good to know what your data looks like. We have English version, type, whether it's a noun, pronoun, adjective. I'm sure you remember those from school. Alternate text. It looks like this was a website. So obviously there was going to be some pictures, and then you're going to show alternate text for the picture when you mouse over it on a web page. But that's neither here nor there. We have a category here. Some of them are, they contain records or information here, and others are null. And again, folks, in SQL Server, null means nothing. So it's not a zero. It's not, I guess, it's not empty in quotes. It is null. Okay, just remember that. All right. And here we also have another column that says example in sentence. Some of them have records, some data here, blow some air into a bottle. Others are null, right? So keep that in mind. And then here you have the meaning of the word, okay? So this makes it interesting to search. All right. So now what we're going to do is create a query. Oops. Sorry. I am going to make a new query here, which I can do with Control-Alt-N as well. All right, that's the shortcut. So let's see what I need here. Okay, here we go. So strange. I thought I was doing, yeah, there it is. Query with current connection. So it's not Control-Alt-N, but it's Control-N. All right. Okay, so here I'm going to do a select statement. So what I need to do actually is to add a comment. So we'll say select statement, right? So this right here is a comment, meaning that SQL Server is not running it. It's just a comment for a human being to read, right? And say, hey, what's going on with this code underneath here? Oh, wait, the guy was just running a select statement. So here's my statement. And this is called a select query. It's getting colored blue because blue is a known word or reserved word in SQL Server programming language. All right, so what am I looking for? I am doing a search in English words, right? The database called English words, but I'm also going into the table called all words. Now I want to do a selection of everything in this database, or in this table, I'm sorry. So I'm going to do a select all from DBO dot all. Okay. I'm missing something, guys. What is it? Again, hear me speak. I'm doing a select all. The asterisk means all, right? Select all from. This is the database that I'm going into. This guy right here. This one. This is the one I want to search. So this is it. I named it properly as DBO dot all underscore words. What am I missing? From. All right, so I'm going to type in here from. Okay, and I'm going to click on this Nike sign here, this swoosh, this correct symbol. It's basically called a parse button, and parse basically says, hey, I'm going to go through this line of code to find out if it's right or wrong, if there's a problem or not. So let's say you miss a letter and you parse it, it's going to say, hey, there's an incorrect syntax near FRO, right? So now if I come in here and I enter, and then I go and parse it again, now it says commands completed successfully, meaning the parse was successful. It's not the execute, right? So now I'm going to execute this and I get everything or all the records from DBO all words. All right, so here we'll say our select statement to select every, we'll just say everything from DBO dot all underscore words. All right, so these are basic commands. Now, I want to run a specific command instead of everything here. We want to select English version and type. Okay, so I copy this comment again. So here I'm going to say select statement to select English version and type. Okay, so here again I'm going to type my select statement and I'm going to say English. And again, you see your good friend IntelliSense pop up and it's showing you how to, it's giving you a list of, possible things that you could be typing for, right? Or you could be looking for. So in this case, I'm looking for English version. So let's go to English underscore ver. Well, let me just do my camel notation properly. Underscore version. And type, right? All right, so we'll type. Well, let's just go ahead. Let's try English version only. From, and here we're going to do our database DBO dot all words. Okay. We're going to parse it. We're going to execute it, and we do get what we're looking for. Right? So we're getting this column only from here, right? From the database, from the table. Now, you notice that I selected this guy only, and then I hit execute. Now, if I select this guy only, this line only, and I hit execute, I get everything, right? So I got select everything, and then here I get select English underscore version only. Now, in SQL Server, right, when you highlight a piece of code and you run it, SQL Server is smart enough to run only that piece of code that you're highlighting. Okay, now let's say I don't highlight any piece of code and I run this code here. What do I get? I get two outputs, right? So the first output is this first piece of code here. Second output is from this piece of code, right? It's really cool to look at, but you don't want to do that too much because if you're pulling hundreds of rows of data and tens of columns, then your computer will be doing a ton of work, right? It might be undergoing a lot of pressure there, and nobody likes pressure, as we all know. All right, so now that we got, so I'm going to go select just that piece of code, run it only. Now let's see, actually, you know what? I need to know, so I'll go for category this time. Okay, so we'll do a select English version and category from DBO all words. Parse it, no problems, execute. I get my categories here and my English version there. Okay. Again, I can save this code here and we'll call it SQL tutorial 1. Missing an tutorial. All right, so we got that right. Okay, cool. Now let's go on to, so we'll call this a select statement. All right. And the next one we want to do is we'll do a create view, right? So here we want to say create view statements. And a view is basically it's a database object that you can create, right? And call, right? So you can create it, you can query it without querying the actual table, right? So for instance, if I create a view, the view can actually hold this information here, 2 columns, okay? And the next time I want to query this data, I really don't have to go back and query the database itself. I can actually query that view only, right? So it's an abstraction of your database, right? So instead of calling, all these 4 columns, or instead of calling the actual database itself, I can actually query the view only, right? So you have database, tables, and views. So here we're going to create a view, and here we'll say create view, and we'll call it English version and category. Okay. And we'll create it as, and then we'll write our select statement. Yikes. Category from PBO dot all words. Oh. So in terms of the actual statements, right, or the query language, this is exactly what you need in terms of creating a view, right? Now, before I get all confident, I'm going to parse it, make sure that it's good to go, and I'm going to execute it. And again, remember, when you highlight a piece of code, SQL Server will execute it by itself. Okay, run. And here I see my command completed successfully. This is the completion time in seconds. I guess there's a date here. Today's the 19th, so it's 2022, 10/19. And then the time is this here. So it's 5:40 p.m. and 49 seconds and some other stuff over here. All right. Now we have a view that we've created. So now I'm sure you'll be asking, where do I find this view that I created, right? Now, the view is a database, it's a database object, I'm sorry. And since we created that view within the English words database, you find out that one of the database objects within the database called English words is a view. So this is the folder called views. Of course, there's a system view here, which I recommend you do not tamper with, right? Because you could ruin your whole database. But anyway, so here is our view, right? English version category. This is the view we just created. These 2 I already had. This is the one we just created, and now I can query that view output exactly what its code says it should, right? So create view statement goes like this: create view name as, and then you run your select statement. When it runs, your view is created, and you can actually run that view itself. And when you run it, this is the code that gets executed, right? We're selecting the top 1,000 rows from this view. And as you can see, it also has the name DBO, and DBO simply means database object, right? So pretty much all these items here are database objects. So, all right, guys, so we just hit the 20-minute mark. There'll be another video where we're going to have more T-SQL code running and snippets. Again, T-SQL is simply referring to transact SQL, right? So it's transact SQL, and it could stand for transaction or transactional SQL. Okay, but know that T-SQL is Microsoft's native SQL language for SQL Server or SQL Server. People say SQL as if it's a movie, but it's short for SQL. All right, guys, I'm going to save this page here. As you can see, this asterisk here means that this code has not been saved. I'm going to save it, and we'll call it create view snippet. Okay. It's good to save pieces of code so you can remember them or use them later. All right, guys, see you in the next video.